There is a job that offers a very high salary. You will receive $100,000 for killing just one cockroach, but the catch is that it has to be a cockroach on Mars. Would you take on this job? It turns out that in the not-so-distant future, the Earth's population has exploded and resources have become scarce, forcing humanity to initiate a plan to migrate to Mars. In order to address the problem of Mars' low temperatures, scientists have transported some of the most resilient organisms from Earth, moss and cockroaches, to Mars in order to help terraform the environment. The scene then shifts to 500 years in the future. Mars has finally developed all the conditions necessary for human habitation, but before the official migration can begin, the cockroaches on the planet need to be exterminated. So a spacecraft is sent to Mars to make the final preparations for the human settlement plan. This spacecraft is a veritable melting pot, filled with members of organized crime, stowaways, and convicted murderers, all with criminal records. But nowadays, many of them are simply desperate people in debt, just trying to earn some money. The scientist gathers them together and promises to absolve them of all their crimes, while also offering a large sum of money as payment. The spacecraft successfully lands on Mars and immediately launches several rockets carrying highly potent insecticides, the Mars Red Bullets. 3 hours later, the captain believes the cockroaches should be mostly dead, so he dispatches 4 teams to explore the 4 cardinal directions. But soon, the group becomes puzzled as they realize there are no dead cockroach bodies around, despite the powerful pesticides. Did the drugs not work as expected? Just then, they spot a group of strange humanoid creatures. These beings have well-developed muscles and large, piercing eyes that gaze at the humans in a harmless, almost innocent way. Team member Xiao Ji and his girlfriend Nai Shui are a bit bewildered and instinctively assume these are Martians. They awkwardly but politely greet them, saying, "Hello." But the strange creatures do not seem to understand them. They slowly start approaching the humans, when suddenly one of them dashes forward with lightning speed, snapping Nai Shui's neck before casually walking away. Messages also come in from other teams. Another female team member, Kelly, has also been attacked by these creatures. The stunned crew quickly gathers the bodies of their fallen comrades and rushes back to the spacecraft, demanding an explanation from the captain. Wasn't the plan just to exterminate the cockroaches? To their surprise, the technician on board reveals that the humanoid creatures they encountered are in fact the cockroaches themselves. It turns out that 500 years ago, when humans brought countless cockroaches to Mars, the intense radiation on the planet triggered an unprecedented evolution in the insects. Now, the humans who wish to migrate to Mars must first eliminate these ferocious creatures. The crew members feel utterly deceived, realizing they have essentially been sent here to their deaths. Just as they are about to retaliate, the scientist's holographic image suddenly appears. He reveals that this was all within his expectations, but he did not send them here to die. To combat the cockroach people, the scientist has developed a special evolutionary serum that can combine the immense power of insects with human genetics. By injecting this serum, the crew members can gain unique superpowers, tailored to their individual physiology. At this point, the captain brings out a yellow vial of serum and uploads each crew member's individual insect-based genetic attributes directly into their minds. Just then, the radar system detects a large group of cockroach people converging on the spacecraft. While the crew members hesitate on whether to fight, one of them, a former Middle Eastern soldier, bravely steps out of the ship. Unhesitatingly, he injects himself with the serum, and almost instantly, the yellow genetic fluid fuses with his body. Feeling the immense changes, the soldier launches a powerful spinning kick at the approaching cockroach people. But to his surprise, the kick is easily deflected, and he is swatted away. Realizing the vast difference in physical strength, the soldier activates a special ability. He unleashes a torrent of scorching hot gas from his palms. The most potent skill of the genetic serum is the ability to instantly generate temperatures over 100 degrees, and this power has been amplified exponentially after combining with human genetics. However, the cockroach person merely recoils slightly, before calmly walking up and delivering a light punch that sends the soldier flying. The cockroach people, emboldened by their victory, start hurling themselves at the spacecraft's glass windows. The pilot remains calm, just finishing his sentence about the unbreakable, specialized glass when the windows suddenly shatter, killing some of the crew members on the spot. Seeing this, the captain also injects himself with the serum. The captain's genetic fusion is based on the bullet ant, and with just a single strike, he effortlessly kills a cockroach person. But the spacecraft's alarms start blaring as more and more enemies swarm towards them. Just as the pilot tries to take off, all the systems suddenly malfunction, leaving them stranded. In this critical moment, the captain comes up with a plan. A decade ago, Japan had launched a Pioneer spacecraft to Mars, and they can use that to return to Earth. As for the cockroach people surrounding them, the captain decides to hold them off. Seeing the horde climbing onto the ship, the crew members quickly head to the emergency storage, while the technician chooses to stay behind and fight alongside the captain. As the evolutionary serum takes effect, the technician's body begins to transform. His insect fusion is with a mosquito, granting him the special ability of playing dead. Seeing the towering cockroach people, the technician gets scared and hides away in the ship's cabin. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew have found a Mars rover, but with the distant Pioneer 1 spacecraft and the swarming cockroach people, escaping the siege seems like a daunting challenge. Suddenly, a smaller crew member quickly injects himself with the serum. His insect fusion is one that can propel itself with gas, and after the transformation, his mouth bulges like a basketball. He lies atop the rover and instantly spews a 500-meter-long trail of exhaust, driving the rover at over 1,000 kilometers per hour. The cockroach people blocking the path are no match for this incredible speed. However, as the rover speeds away, an immense tidal wave of cockroach people emerges, forming a towering barrier ahead. The crew brace for impact, but the rover plows straight through, emerging on the other side. The three on the roof catch their breath and continue the fiery propulsion. Yet another massive cockroach wall looms before them. Battered, the rover is nearing the end of its lifespan. Seeing this, two female crew members also inject themselves, fusing with tough-shelled insect genes. The two female crew members stand on the roof, using their armored exoskeletons to directly ram through the cockroach swarm. Although the rover manages to break through yet again, it loses control upon landing, flinging the three on the roof to the ground and knocking out the passengers inside. Worse still, the system detects the incapacitated driver and automatically takes over, abandoning the three outside. Left defenseless as the cockroach people close in, their fate seems sealed. Eventually, the rover reaches the Pioneer 1 spacecraft, but just as the crew are about to reactivate the systems, gunfire erupts from outside. Surprisingly, the cockroach people have learned to use firearms. Jason, whose insect fusion is with the deadliest wild animal, the killer bee, springs into action, easily deflecting the slow-moving bullets. He charges into the cockroach crowd, his powerful punches overwhelming them with the corrosive bee venom. The other two crew members also transform, one fusing with a locust and the other with a praying mantis. Together, their ferocious attacks leave the cockroach people helpless. On the other ship, the technician seals the cabin and vents the oxygen to fend off the swarming cockroach people. But then, a woman emerges from the praying mantis-fused crew member. It's Kaylee, who had supposedly been killed earlier. She had actually fused with the reversing wasp, gaining the ability to inject nerve toxins and control the cockroach people as puppets. To accomplish her mission, Kaylee went as far as infiltrating the cockroach people's bodies to retrieve a cockroach egg. Assisting her from within the spacecraft is another inconspicuous spy, the technician, whose playing dead ability is not as useless as it seemed. Even in a vacuum environment, he can survive being in a near-death state. It was the technician who deliberately caused the malfunctions on the second spacecraft, allowing Kaylee to carry out her plan. With the captain neutralized and the cockroach egg secured, the two spies have succeeded in their true objective, not to fight the cockroach people, but to steal their genetic material and bring it back to Earth. Meanwhile, Jason hears the scientist's voice through a drone, revealing the true purpose of sending the crew to Mars to retrieve the cockroaches. The scientist plans to use the battle data from the crew's transformations to cultivate a powerful insect army and conquer the world. Kaylee uses water to revive the seemingly dead technician and restores the second spacecraft systems, ready to take the cockroach egg back to Earth. But to their surprise, the egg hatches prematurely. As the two newly hatched cockroach people emerge, Kaylee quickly injects herself with the serum, transforming into a mud wasp and attempting to inject them with venom. But to her shock, the cockroach people, having only evolved for a single generation, are already immune to the toxin. She is then swiftly punched through by one of them. At this time, the spacecraft has already engaged its launch sequence, preparing to depart Mars for Earth. The cockroach siblings let out a call, summoning their brethren to prevent the ship from taking off. The cockroach people on the ground seem to undergo some kind of transformation, unfurling their wings and swarming towards the spacecraft. As their numbers grow, the spacecraft loses stability and plummets back down to the surface. Seeing the cockroach people bringing down the spacecraft, Jason and the others unhesitatingly inject themselves with the serum again, prepared to eliminate them. However, the two newly hatched cockroach siblings have already far surpassed the abilities of the regular cockroach people. Jason confidently charges in, only to be quickly knocked out by a single punch. The praying mantis woman swings her long blade, but the cockroach effortlessly catches it and snaps off her limb. The two strongest fighters are incapacitated in an instant. Witnessing this, the locust man becomes enraged. He refuses to accept the existence of anything more powerful than himself. In his locust form, he continues injecting the serum, causing his body to rapidly mutate. His strength increases dramatically as he grows more locust-like, even developing wings. In a last-ditch effort, the Locust Man manages to kill one of the newly hatched cockroach people with a powerful attack, but the strain has completely depleted his potential, and defeat now seems inevitable. As the cockroach people surround them, a glowing object slowly approaches from the distance. It's Naishue, whose neck had been snapped earlier. She has now undergone a rebirth, fusing with butterfly genetics. Naishue flaps her wings, showering the area with scales. Jason instantly realizes that Naishue is trying to Naishue, hoping to pull her to safety. But it's too late. In the last moment before the scales ignite, the exhausted Locust Man uses his remaining strength to save Jason from the incoming flames. When the smoke clears, Natsuki's tattered wings lie on the ground, while the cockroach people, though injured, are still alive. In their current state, Jason could easily defeat the cockroach people with his killer bee form, but he chooses not to deliver the final blow, perhaps realizing that the true culprit is not the cockroach people themselves, but the scientist who sought to use genetic manipulation for world domination. Back on the spacecraft, Jason encounters the treacherous technician spy. However, the two do not engage in combat, deciding instead to return to Earth first before settling the score. With their own ulterior motives, they board the escape pod and depart, while the remaining cockroach people, stopped by their leader, choose not to pursue them. The film Martian Species was released in 2016, and 8 years have already passed. It seems the possibility of a sequel is almost zero. However, the good news is that the film was adapted from a manga, and the later story in the manga is that the technician returns to Earth and becomes the Prime Minister of Japan. As for Jason, a few years later, he leads 100 elite members from various countries who have undergone the latest gene transplant surgery, and they return to Mars once again. Overall, it is a film full of action and sci-fi elements, successfully integrating Martian colonization and a unique life form into an imaginative and visually striking story. It also showcases the courage and determination of humanity in exploring the unknown and overcoming challenges. Alright, that's all for today's film discussion. We'll see you next time.